Boy, I guess I better get that out of me. Good morning, kids. How we doing this morning? Awake? Not yet. But getting there. You need a little more coffee. So let's have a cup of coffee together again. And you notice we're drinking from a serious cup these days. That's my trucking cup. I take it out on the road with me, you know. And I have a thermos jug to keep this thing filled up. But I'm drinking lukewarm coffee most all the time because it sits there a lot, you know. It's just something to sip on, something comforting, and also helps you stay alert because you're out there on America's highways and byways, and it's a dangerous place to be, man. There's lots of crazy folks out there that don't have a clue of what to do with their vehicle, and strange weather, and fires, and earthquakes, floods, tornadoes. I mean, shoot. Wow. That's a life living out there on the road. You better have a serious cup of coffee. You know, and, you know, in the old days we used to cheat a bit and work long, long hours, you know, and sometimes go 3 days without sleeping, things like that, you know, and then get very little for another week, you know, 'cause you was a busy little critter and that freight had to be there and you had to be there on time, and they'd give you 2 days to make it from L.A. to New York, which you can do and even get a tiny bit of sleep, but not a lot. You know, that's just the way that life is. And then those things break down on you. But the adventure is in getting out there and feeling the earth and all of her different manifestations, you know. Trucking along at 60 miles an hour, 65 or whatever, is kind of a way of slowly extending yourself into the earth around you and experiencing her as you go along. It's not near as good as walking, but walking takes a hell of a lot longer, so, you know. These rudimentary old trucks, they're kind of fun to be in, you know. And I like shifting gears, and I always like crossing the country and feeling the earth. And the people you meet everywhere you go are incredible. I mean, and then I journeyed away from trucking and started meeting people from all over the earth anyway. I mean, I've been in and out of it a lot in my life, but these last 10, 15 years have been incredible. Man, I was driving a different kind of truck there for a while. You know, back in my 40s I keeled over. You know, and I was worn down, really. I had some kind of disease, illness, and never could quite identify the thing. Cancer was involved. But anyway, to make it short, I was dying. But I lived in this beautiful place, man. I had a ranch way out in the mountains in southern Oregon. I mean, we were so far out there, cell phones didn't work, there was no power lines, no telephone, 18 miles to the nearest phone. I loved it. It's a great place to be. Everywhere you looked, you saw, you felt the face of God, you know, the hand of life. One of my favorite times when I was really sick was going up on the mountains and communing with the spirits, you know, of course. But I like the early morning hours, and I would get up there really early and then watch the day break and see the fog lifting up off the creek down below us, you know, and hear the loons calling up through the fog. Goodness, there's nothing quite like that. And I think experiences like that are a great part of what healed me from that silly illness, you know. But the way my life went is like spirits just plunked me down there on that ranch. It just came out of nowhere and plunked me down out there so that I'd have a good place. You know, I could live in the heart of paradise. I'd have a good place to get myself back together, to start waking up, and to experience a lot of other hairy things too. My life was challenged then in more ways than illness. Some old spirit friends came to visit me there in human form. And man, I let them stay. I mean, like a fool, I knew what was coming. Violence was written all over that one's face. And I says, hey, what about that shit? He says, oh, that's all past us now. Ain't no need to worry about that. Seemed reasonable to me. I mean, you know, I'm a believing, caring kind of man. That's part of the reason why I live so far back out there in the mountains, because I didn't get along too well in civilization. It just never suited me too well. It's another reason why I love trucking. Because you just bob in and bob out of those big cities. You don't have to have much. Well, you can go party there a little bit, and that's kind of fun, but I always looking over my shoulder. That's back then, you know. No better now. But sitting up there on those mountains, listening to those loons, like I say, that's a great part of what healed me. But, you know, spirits plunked me down on this ranch, give me all these experiences. They knew I was coming down. They knew the boogie was coming to visit. They knew my life would be severely challenged. But they knew something I didn't think I knew then. I was up to it. They knew that. Else I wouldn't have been there, wouldn't have done that. And God, life has been nothing but a great change since then. This spotted eagle came along and connected with my soul, my heart. And the spirit of it lives on inside of me. We're still doing what we started to do back then. We fly together, this spotted eagle and I. We're the same being in many ways. Parallel in the universe. Twin flames, twin souls, twin hearts. Manifested in different forms, because that's how life works here. And all of our life been looking for answers out here, until that eagle came along. I didn't even know what was the question. You just look to your soul for the answer, but what was the question? But the answer was two. Now forgive me, but the question's like, what the heck is going on here? Why have we chosen this experience for ourselves? Is this a prison? I mean, are we being punished for something? Is there a reason why, you know, we have to go through all this shit, this pain? This ugliness in this reality? God, and it gets ugly sometimes. Yuck. A shithole, man. But that's where the refuse goes, and then it transforms, becomes something better. So we got to know the answer to that question. You know? Why do we put up with it? What makes us so happy to be here that we'd endure so much suffering? Well, babies, I remember a life a long, long time ago, bits of it, where things on this earth were far more enlightened than they are now. We were resonating beings, still physical in form, but far more elegant and not as condensed. I mean, these bodies were A lot more than what you see them as now, let me tell you. Or feel them as. And you know, we had access to all the places in the universe. We could walk through these gates and just bing, be there, you know. It wasn't like you dematerialized. You didn't have to. You just transported. There's little angles and twists in the universe that from a three-dimensional view, even a four-dimensional view, you can't see it. Till you get up in the fifth, sixth, seventh dimensions, you start to understand the stacked nature of the universe. And even though everything's extended out, it's actually all right here in the same place. The center of the hand, the center of the heart. That's the point of all existence. And when you see and understand that, guess what? You don't need no transportation to get you there. You're there already. You just realize yourself into it. But in the meantime, stargates are tricky, and they're fun, you know, for us lesser beings. And in those, you do kind of dematerialize, because when you go into them, you kind of turn into that self that you were a long present time ago. But then when you come back out of it, you condense right back to this. So you don't really get to remember that going through the Stargate. It's just a momentary blip. And you wonder how I can talk about such things. Well, hell, they have them today. They found them. You know, they even made a TV show about it called Stargate, yeah. And it was a little bit hokey, of course. Nothing but propaganda, but it was also preparation so that you could be willing to see such things. Because they do exist here, and they always have. They've been dormant for a while, but they have come back to life now. But this is only 2 of them, and there's more. And they're hidden, just like most of our reality is. And see, way back when I connected with that spotted eagle, I began to remember all of this. I began to awaken. I went through a lot of experiences to get me to that awakening. And like I said, some of them life-challenging. To live, you must nearly die. Because that's how you begin to experience life, appreciate it. Before, you were just going through the motions, man. You know? You didn't quite understand the reality that death brings you back to life. It doesn't kill you. It changes you. Rearranges you. And I began to connect with that past life, a lot of them. But, you know, and remember things from way back when and experience things like I was there and it was happening again. And I became a new soul, a new presence, a new heart. And I'm still washing away the pain even after all of that. And that's the answer to what the heck is going on here. Wash away the pain, and you'll see. It's an end to all trauma, all shocking experience, and you can begin to see and understand our reality and move back into that place. Because, you know, where we have existed still exists forevermore. In other words, we can go back there where we first found this place, and we can start over. We can be those ascended beings that we were then, only just like death, giving you a feeling for life. Well, we didn't know how to appreciate what we were then as ascended beings. So we chose to master this in a different way. To choose a death of our own that would bring us back to life. And that's the answer too. That's why we've chosen to be here. We needed to experience some misdirection, some misguidance. so that we could come to understand and feel the presence of pain, conflict, war, insanity, disconnectedness. And we chose to endure it for quite a bit longer than we thought we would. We thought 20 minutes and this one's over. Yeah, right. Well, maybe it's 20 minutes on someone's clock, but not as we experience it here. It's been a long journey. But there's a sweet beauty in all that darkness, babies. And we can remember the nobleness of it too. We've come home to bring our lost souls back. To experience the ascendant being, the truth. Because we know now what it feels like not to be that. We've had our death. We've been the living dead. The unfeeling. Nothing worse than not being able to feel and know your experience. And we're taught here to lessen our sensitivity, not increase it. Excuse me. To put it away like it's not even there, to not feel. That's the message you get from all of this. And ignore your base feelings. Do what you're told. Be what you're programmed to be. Well, babies, that shit's wearing off. It's gotten old, finally. We've had enough. And we're willing to let it go, despite the great value in that experience. We're going to give it up now. And go back to living in the presence of the heart. Because that's where we want to be. And that's who we are. And that's why we so deeply love one another, that we have to feel each other's presence. And we have to know. And we have to forgive one another for all that's been done. And all that's been said between us, for all the pain and heartache, and all that we've been through. And recognize that no one's any better than anybody else, and no one's any lesser than anyone else, and no form of life is any more or any less than anything else that lives. We're all alive, we're all in this together. And there's not a speck in the universe that doesn't feel what humanity feels, and doesn't know what we know, and isn't willing to share everything, all the love that can bring forward, and let us experience and be with us in that experience in any way we choose it to be. That's why it has existed in the way it has. We've let it form the duality, the polarities, so that we could experience those as well. Now as we come back to center heart, and know the reality of truth, the gathering of all life inside of ourselves, and our gathering with all life outside of ourselves. When we know that, then we no longer succumb to the pain and the pressures. We are back inside our true selves. And the earth around us can't help, through her loving respect for her children, to come right along there with us. So we're bringing her presence of being into the next few dimensions right along with us. And for me, it all began when that presence of the spotted eagle began to awaken my little heart back there in that magical, beautiful place in the wilds of southern Oregon. And babies, we've survived. And since then, because I've been a little bit visible and invisible, I've been through some challenges as well. And my life's nearly been taken a few times since then. But I don't let it get me down. Boy, I've been smoking some harsh cigarettes. Darn. So here we are now. The presence of the universe is right inside of us. And we've got the angels here to love and guide us. Just open up to receive them a little bit. Don't deny their presence anymore, and don't deny the presence inside yourself. You don't need to fight anything to overcome it. If you see something that's dark, negative, and undesirable, change the presence of your being, your heart. Allow the phoenix bird to arise within you. Let go of everything you've ever known in this presence. And let truth and reality speak to you. Because what you've known is not what you are. It's a very limited form of yourself. You're tiny in there. But here, in the presence of your heart, is where your journey begins, back to the presence of your true being and self. Come home now. Don't ignore the stuff around you. It's indicative of stuff inside of you, how corrupted it's become. But remember, not to fight it. Feel it. Release it with your love. Let it go. Be done with the bitterness and the angst of it. And you're no longer under their control. And you can begin to experience the being, the presence that you are inside of yourself. And it's magic and it's powerful and it's real. And there's no harm in it for anybody. It's the most blessed thing you could do for yourself and everybody else around you. Be real. And man, some of you have a lot to forgive yourselves for. But look inside your heart, you'll find that capacity there. Truth speaks through you now, comes to you now, arises up from your heart, and you will move according to the dictates of that heart, because you so are in love with the flow of energy called life. Now do you begin to see what we're coming on to? This is the answer. This is the question. This is the moment in time when it becomes real for you and everyone else too. We're going there together, you and I. Because that's where we started out. Together. All of us. Think about that for a moment in time. All of us. Babies, we love you. You rock my heart. Yeah, I'm going back to work tomorrow. So, I probably won't be making a video this week. At least not for a while. Unless I get broke down and laid over somewhere. And then who knows. But babies, I love you. And I just want to experience the presence of your heart. So that you can begin to experience the presence of mine. And we can, truthfully, rejoin together in this life. That's how powerful this presence can be. And I know you've been up against some stone walls here and there. Well, so have I. And you know, they're beginning to dissolve, those stone walls, right before our eyes. We're beginning to see the power of who we are, what we do. And the answer to the question. And the question that brought the answer. Death brings life. Enlightenment refills the fulfillment of your hope. And doubles it over. Triples it over. You know, just makes for an abundant and real presence. A happy little existence. I don't know. The words of description escape me right this moment. But the heart knows your presence. And your presence is the heart. Rock and roll. Whew. See how far we've come? The gateway's open. Step through that door. Rock and roll, babies. And on with the show. Love yous.